I tell this to my members all the time, consistency compounds, right? Ultimately, you're not going to want to show up every day. Don't just show up when you feel like you're going to be able to show up 100%. If you feel 30%, give 100% at 30%. If you feel 10%, give 100 at 10%, right? It's kind of like money. You can't compound $0, but you can compound $10. You can compound $100. So consistency compounds.
Yeah! What's up, everybody? Your life alchemist, your dragon. Welcome to Alchemize Life. I'm your host, Justin David Carl. This is a show where I seek out and share expertise, wisdom, and thought leadership in all domains with the mission of empowering and inspiring you to proactively design and truly live a life worth living. We're all in this together, and when we do the work together, we go so much farther, so much faster, and have so much more fun. Without further ado, let's dig into this episode and alchemize life. Coach Maxime, I'm so seriously stoked to have you on the show for many reasons, which we will dive into the show. But for the audience, just a little introduction about who you are and what you're about. You're an entrepreneur, a 7-figure coach, founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching. Thanks so much for coming on today and sharing some of your insight, your wisdom, and your entrepreneurial journey. How's it going today?
Of course, man. I'm doing amazing. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Super excited to talk with you today because those are interviews that I don't normally do and I never get to do. So very excited to just provide some value and some knowledge.
Yeah, one additional thing that I didn't mention in the introduction is you are also the host of the Fit Vegan podcast. So you're also a podcaster and have how many shows do you have out now?
I think 140 Ooh, something.
That's good.
Yeah,
awesome. You're a little ahead of me.
I'm used to being on this side.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, you know, what's really interesting to me is how people become who they become, their origin story, you know, how they go from, you know, oftentimes nothing to something really big. And I feel like you've had an incredible entrepreneurial journey over the last 3 years, maybe even longer. And I'd love for you just, you know, tell us where you started and how you got where you are now.
Yeah, thank you. It definitely started longer than 3 years ago. There was many attempts and failures before it's picked up 3 years ago. Yeah, I'm from Gatineau, Quebec. So I'm from the east side of Canada. I originally grew up on a farm. We had like tons of cows and horses and chickens and geese. And my dad always made us work on the farm really early on. And I didn't want to because it was hard work. I just wanted to have fun and skateboard and shoot paintball and just do all that fun stuff. And but my dad was able to instill in us like real hard work. Like when it's hay season, like that's a lot of work. Because you're working like all weekend for several weeks, baling hay, preparing the food for winter, basically for the cows and the horse, and having to feed the chickens every morning. And disclaimer, I wasn't vegan at the time because we ate those eggs and we killed those chickens ourselves.
It's okay. This isn't a vegan podcast.
Okay. I'm used to clarifying. But yeah, so growing up on the farm and, you know, financially we were like middle class. Like we had money to eat. We had a roof over our head, but there wasn't like any extra for us to do like the crazy trips that some of my friends were doing during the year. And I always wanted to be in a position where I could do these things. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I've always tried different ways to make money. I think my first few attempts was through sports. Played basketball all through college, all through high school, all through college. And I'm like, I'm going to go NCAA division. I'm just going to like aim for the NBA. And got recruited for college, then got recruited for NCAA Division II in the United States, which was a part scholarship. And we didn't have the funds for me to do the other half in order for me to go. And so I ended up not being able to play basketball in the United States, which potentially could have led to a different career. And so there was multiple of these moments in my life where lack of funds didn't allow me to seize an opportunity. And so once I got out of college, I got into bodybuilding and powerlifting and into the fitness space. And I was like, I really like this. I want to be a trainer. And so that actually started like almost 9 years ago. for me to be in the fitness space. And it's funny that we're doing this interview today because I just found my old YouTube channel from way back in the day when I made my first video on YouTube. I was so scared to start it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start promoting fitness. I'm going to be a coach online. I'm going to do this thing. That was almost 9 years ago. And so, yeah, I've always tried to do different things. And I think before the fitness thing came up, I was just working corporate, working smoothie bars, working supplement stores before actually COVID hit, which led me to start the ventures that I have now. But it's been a pretty wild ride of trying different things. I used to coach people how to be comfortable on camera at one point. I remember I was sleeping on a couch, eating rice cakes, peanut butter, and banana because I didn't have enough money to live. And I was coaching people how to be comfortable on camera because that was my jam. I was really good at it. So it was like basically a self-development course. And I've coached probably 15 people with that business before I moved on to do something else. But I was always looking for a way to impact people's life in the self-development realm. And at first it was hidden through being confident on camera. And now it's through fitness and nutrition.
I love that. How did your interest in self-development and personal development, how was that born in you?
Yeah, I heard of Tony Robbins. I want to say, was I 18? Maybe 17 or 18. And then Christmas was coming and I told my parents I want a book from this guy. And the first book was Awaken the Giant Within. And I read that book and I was like, what? You're telling me I can mold my brain? I can mold myself to become the person I want? I always wanted to be at a certain level of finance where I didn't have to worry about finance. I didn't have to live the stress that my parents were dealing with, that our family was dealing with. And so when I read that book and I was like, I can literally become whatever I want, then the whole world opened up. And then one thing happened that I didn't realize. Then I became anxious about choosing which path I wanted because I realized that I could have whatever I want. And so if I said something, I knew I could get it with enough time and hard work. And then I got paralyzed of what path do I take? What is the path that connects the most to me? But yeah, to answer your question, I was about 17, 18. My parents got me Awaken the Giant Within for Christmas. I read it and I was like, I'm ready for a different life now.
This is why we're destined to work together, because my father gave me Awaken the Giant Within when I was super young, nice. And I've been a lifelong Tony Robbins fan. So no surprise that we have that shared affinity for personal development. It's really played a fundamental part of our life.
Yeah, absolutely. And very excited that I got to hire some of his coaches for his team to coach me now in my life, and then working our way up to the next level to work with the man himself in a few years.
Yeah, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
Get coached personally by Tony. I've definitely done Unleash the Power Within event. So I don't know if he's doing those in person anymore since COVID.
They're just online.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful in person. I did it right the summer before COVID. So it was a pretty transformational event for me. So 9 years in the making to becoming a seven-figure coach. I think a lot of people, they see someone like you who has this, someone who's literally put over 500 people through fit vegan coaching and transformed a ton of people. And they think he's always been successful. He's always done that. As you're, over the 9 years, what were some of the kind of biggest challenges and hurdles that you had to face and overcome?
That I always followed what I wanted to do, regardless of if it made me money or not. And so that led me to very interesting places. I've slept in my car. I've slept on park benches. I lived on rice. I lived on rice cakes, peanut butter, and banana. But ultimately, I was always pursuing the thing that I wanted because I was only taking care of me. And so I could take all the risks that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And, there's several big pivotal moments that was just this sucks, but don't give up. Eventually you're going to get there. I just realized really early on that if I don't stop trying and improving my method to get there, I can't lose, because even if it takes me 40 years, I'll still get there at the 40-year mark, right? I got there a lot sooner than I thought I would, but I always knew that if I never stopped improving and trying, then there was no way for me to actually fail. The only way to fail was for me to quit. And so, there was moments where I slept in my car and I would wake up and I'd have a ticket on my dash, and it was like $80. And I was like, start crying. And I was like, fuck this. Like I just punched the roof of my car and I was so angry. I was like, can I not get a break? Like I'm trying so hard. And I had multiple of these moments where I slept on people's couches. Like I had no money to eat. I remember when I was living in Vancouver and I first got there, you need a pass to grab like the SkyTrain to like scan to get in. You have to pay for that pass. I didn't have money. I would have to jump the gate and then like sneak in with people so the guards wouldn't see me. And there's times where the guards saw me and I had to like run on the opposite side, jump the gate and like run away. There's times where like I didn't eat. It's been a pretty wild ride to get here. And then when COVID happened 3 years ago, at the time I had a partner who was battling cancer, and I was the sole provider in terms of being a caregiver and financially being the bank that was funding all the treatments. And I was working a corporate job. I got laid off maybe 3 weeks before COVID happened, before COVID was even a thing. They made bad financial decisions, and honestly, very surprised that they're still in business, but they made very bad financial decisions. And then they're like, hey, we know like you're kind of like one of our top employees, but you're the last person hired. So technically we can't fire anyone else and we need more money in our budget. So we're going to have to let you go. I'm like, I have someone that's sick. I need money to pay for this. And they're like, it's just business. And so literally I came in, I was doing like social media. I went to log into the accounts. Everything was blocked off. They called me in the meeting and then they let me go. And then my head of sales department, who was living in the same building as me at the time, he was like, hey man, like here's a box. Like you need to put your things in there. I'm driving you home right now. And I remember packing the box and I was like, man, this is like, I was sad, but I was excited. Like the weird fucked up part of me was like, this is like in the movies. Like this is where shit changes. Like I'm never going back to working for someone else that because they made bad decisions, my life will suffer because of it. I was like, I'm done working for someone else. I packed my bags. He was my buddy. He drove me to a house and I came home. I was like, I don't have a job anymore. They just let me go. And then 3 weeks after, COVID happened. And so in between that time, like I had an old personal training certification. In order to work in BC, I needed a new one. And so I was already studying for it, but I had no urgency because I had my corporate job. And so I called them up. I'm like, hey, I need to do the exam and I need this to get approved ASAP. Like I need to start making money. And so I finished my certification for BC. I started training people. I trained 3 people and then COVID happened. And then I'm sent home and I'm like, I can't catch a break. And mind you, at the time I had like $5,000 to $10,000 worth of payments coming in every month. And I was only making $4,000 a month with my corporate job. So I was running in a negative already. And so I was just borrowing money to continue paying. And COVID happened. And then for a month I was like depressed. I'm trying so hard again. Like it's just the constant theme of my life. I like keep trying and then life just goes and punches me right back down. And I was like, Mom, start doing fitness online because even if I want to work 4 jobs, I can't even work 4 jobs. Everything is shut down. And so I started trying to sell programs online and it was very clunky. Like I knew what I was doing. I had a passion for helping people, especially in the vegan way because I'd been vegan for many years at the time, but I just didn't know how to do it. And then I saw a post from a guy online. It's like, hey, you want to make your first 5-figure a month with online fitness? I was like, yeah, I want to, right? Heck yeah, I want to do this because like I need to at this point. Like it's a must. It's not like I want to, it'll be cute. Like it's a must. And so I reach out to him and he's like, hey, it's about like, I think the payments at the time were like $200 a month to start his program for him to show me how to do this. And then I reach out to him. I was like, hey man, I just lost my job. I literally have $34.37 in my bank account. And the reason I remember is because it's tattooed on the inside of my pinky. I have $34.37 tattooed because I want to remember to never go back there. And I sent him a screenshot of my bank account. And I was like, hey, like this is all I have. Like I can give you this. And he's like, nah, man, if when there's a will, there's a way, basically. If you want to be a man and you want to step up and provide, you're going to find a way to do this. And then I was like thinking, he's like, call your credit card company. I'm like, dude, I'm overdue on payments for like 6 months. Like my credit card is loaded. They're not going to add me an extension, right? I'm just paying for treatment. I'm just running in a negative all the time. And I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Let me just call the credit card company. Call the credit card company. I was like, hey, I need to buy something for $200. Can I get an extension on it? And they said yes. And I was like, you guys are you give me $200? Like, there's no reason. 6 months behind, card loaded. Like, there's no fucking reason for them to give me that money. And then they say yes. I call up, which is my mentor now. I call him up. I'm like, hey, dude, I got $200. I'm like, just what? I'm going to pay you the first payment. I'm going to figure out the rest. All right. I'm like, just tell me what I need to do, and I'm going to work my ass off to make it work. And he gave me access to his portal, which was like, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3. I'm like, great. At the time, I was a great thinker. I was a great doer. And I still am a great doer, but now I can build the whole plan myself. But I literally went in, man, and I worked 16 hours a day for a month straight. I made my first 10K month in fitness. The first month I started fitness. This is the smallest month I've ever had in my life for fitness.
That's crazy. And right off the bat, 10K. You were that 10K, driven.
Like it was like 11:30 at night at the end of the month. And I was at like 9.7. I made that last sale. And I have a photo. I framed it. It's in my storage unit. It's me holding my laptop, like smiling. I'm like, I just made 10.3K first month. This is crazy. And it's been my smallest month ever since. But that's how I got started. Like it was a must. I had to.
And year was that?
April 2020. So it's going to be 3 years in April.
That's crazy.
It was crazy because I remember that same month, like I told you, I had no money. So that credit card extension I got was to pay for the program. I had no money for food. So I had to go to the food bank for them to give me a brown bag with like freaking Fruit Loops and Spam and bread. Like 3/4 of the shit wasn't vegan. I couldn't eat it. So I would only eat the stuff that was vegan. That's all I could eat. And then, hit that first month, and it allowed us to get some breathing room, hit the second month, got some more breathing room, and then continued to build to the level that we're at today. But that's how it got started. Like I took a really big risk. Looking back, it was stupid. I had cancer treatments to pay. That $200 could have paid for treatments. It could have paid for food. But I was just like, I need to make something happen. Like if I don't make anything happen, we're going to lose our home. We're not going to have money for food. I'm not going to have money for treatments. Like, going to be fucked. And so, I just made it happen. And with the help of my mentor, we've been able to scale to a nice level.
That's really incredible story, Maxim. Up until that point, and up until kind of April 2022, it seems like your life had this theme of, and I apologize if this is at all offensive, but like struggle. Constant struggle.
100%.
How did that change? Because you're not struggling anymore. Maybe you are in some areas of life, but like I feel like now you're much more like abundance and, like anything is possible. And you went from like, why me to like I can do anything if I put my mind to it. So like, like what happened? Was it that mentor or that coach that like literally was like asked you to step up? Like where, because you switched, something happened.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that like things became possible. Like I always knew they were possible. Mm-hmm. I always knew I was going to like make it in my definition, right? My definitions change of what making it means now, but like I always knew I was going to make it. I just knew that I didn't know how. I just knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know how. And so that's why I persisted for so many years. I always try. Even if I fail, I was like, cool, like that's not the path. Let me just try something else. And then when my mentor now told me, it's like, hey, you have to step up. It basically made me realize like, dude, you're at the bottom of the barrel. Like, what do you have to lose? Like call a credit card company. Like words they say no. Like what do I have to lose? I'll be as broke as before I called.
Yeah.
And then honestly, if it wasn't for them saying yes, like, I don't know if there would have been any other way for me to have the money to get started that brought me to where I'm at today. And so I see it as it was a blessing for that bank to say yes, because there was absolutely no reason for them to lend me that money.
Yeah.
But it just made me realize like I'm at the bottom of the barrel. Like, what do I have to lose? Like I have to try something different.
Yeah. I mean, the definition of insanity is to, do the same thing and expect different results. So you definitely stepped outside of that box. Are you still working with that same coach and mentor?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've been with him for 2.5 years, and he's the one that brought me to where I'm at today. I owe everything to him. He's the guy that brought me guidance, and he's taught me some of the most valuable life lessons I have now that allow me to continue to scale and grow as a person and as a partner and as a entrepreneur.
That's awesome. Was that the first time you hired a coach, or had you had, fitness coaches or other types of coaches in your life?
I've had one fitness coach before. When I did my bodybuilding show when I was younger. Was a terrible experience. I was also a little shithead that I was like trying to tell him how to coach me. I was like, I want to eat this instead of that. And he was a pro in prepping me for a show. And so, yeah, it made me learn a lot of my experience with him. But I never been a fan of like spending money because I never had money. I was always in the mindset of like, why would I pay someone to show me how to do something when I'm broke and I could just potentially just figure it out on YouTube or Google? But the thing is that YouTube and Google doesn't provide you the wisdom and experience that comes from having failed so many times. And so when I invested in a mentor, he was in that space for 15 years. He was like, hey, here's how you do it. I was like, but what this? He's like, I tried this 10 years ago. You're going to burn yourself. Do this. I was like, great. That's why I hired you. Let me just give it a shot. Because if I listened to what he was telling me and it didn't work, I could blame him, right? I could take the blame off of me. And so that's what I did. I trusted him 100%, and he brought me to where he told me he'd bring me. And that's why I value coaches so much.
Hey there, just a few words about the incredible show sponsors for today's episode, and then we'll dig right back in. Today's show is brought to you by Veg Nutrition. Live better. So I'm actually a Veg elite athlete, and before I joined the team, I spent months doing my due diligence to make sure that the company was vision, mission, and value aligned with me, my values, my mission, my vision, and my lifestyle. I got to know the owners super well. I even got to know the person who formulates all the products, and they passed with flying colors. So I couldn't be more excited to represent a company that I feel so aligned with. And I want to tell you about two of my favorite products. The first is the Veg Pre-Workout. So when I first went vegan, or mostly vegan, the last thing for me to go fully vegan was finding a vegan pre-workout that gave me the focus, the energy, and the power that I was looking for. And I can tell you, this is the best pre-workout that I've ever had. It gives me incredible focus and energy. And what's probably the best is it leaves me with no crash after I take it, which is great. And the flavors are so freaking good. There's literally peach mango and a Patriot Pop that tastes like, the firecracker popsicles, cherry lemon lime flavor. They're literally so good that I can dry scoop them. And they just released a watermelon flavor for just in time for summer, and it's incredible. So that's the first product. The second product is arguably also my favorite, and that's the plant protein. It comes in 3 incredible flavors: chocolate peanut butter, vanilla ice cream, and cold brew coffee. Yep, you heard me. Cold brew coffee flavor. It tastes incredible, all 3 flavors, 25 grams of protein, fully organic, incredible ingredients, heavy metal tested, and it is my go-to post-workout. Make sure that I'm recovering and refueling and giving my muscles the protein that they need to rebuild for that next workout. So go to vegnutrition.com/dragon and try their full line of supplements, and you'll get 15% off. Or you can just use Dragon at checkout and you'll get 15% off. So that's vegnutrition.com/dragon to get 15% off. Veg Nutrition, live better. Yeah. I've recently kind of come to this understanding that your level of success is directly correlated to your level of awareness around your potential and your how to get realize that potential. And that is what coaches do, right? They literally show you or help you reveal what your actual potential is in any given area of life. And then they actually show you how, the steps that you need to take to manifest that potential. And it's like that potential and those opportunities are there 24/7. You just literally cannot see them. They are not in your conscious awareness. And then a coach will bring you up to their level of conscious awareness. And then suddenly you start to see these things, and then they coach you and guide you through it. And you're like, oh my God, you know what I mean? I just hit, I'm doing 7 figures in sales. I've always been able to do that. I just didn't know how to do it. And I just didn't know that I could actually do it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the potential aspect, especially for money and fitness, right? If you're big, if you're skinny, if you're short, if you're tall, those things don't matter if you're trying to build a business or you're trying to get fitter, right? The only thing that would be limited in terms of potential is if you're 5 foot and you want to be an NBA player, right? It might not work out, but there's none of those requirements if you're trying to build wealth for your family or a good body. There's none. You can be any shape, size, whatever background, and you can achieve all these things too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm curious. So do you mind talking about some of because you have several coaching businesses now.
Yeah.
You started with one. Can you walk us through kind of that journey of, going from starting with one, building it out, and then, essentially starting a few others?
Yeah, of course. So when I started, it just came out of obviously it's a must that I need to start this. And I've always wanted to help people from a self-development standpoint. I obviously was certified as a trainer. I had a love for fitness. I've been training for the past 17 years of my life. And obviously a love for veganism, because I was vegan for a very long time and saw the impact that a plant-based diet can play on someone's health, especially if they're fighting cancer or any chronic diseases like that. And so I started the program to help people lose weight, but the underlying mission was to help people disease-proof their body, because I saw what happens when you go through cancer, and I didn't want anyone to go through that. And I was I wholeheartedly believe, and then the science backs it up, that eating a whole food plant-based diet is the greatest way to reduce the risk of chronic disease, right? It's not a guarantee, but I just did an interview with Dr. Clapper. We talked about this, it's wearing a seatbelt when you have a car accident. Might die, but your chances are really low if you have a seatbelt on. So it's the same thing if you do it plant-based. And so started helping people transform, lose weight, and then people were getting amazing results. And then just started growing, taking on more members coming in, refining the program. They're hey, this sucks. Awesome. Let's change it. I love this aspect. Let's do more of that. Great. And took our members' feedback and improved until the point where there was too many members for me to coach. And I didn't want my impact to be limited by my ability to coach people. And so I brought on Coach Sarah. Coach Sarah was my first ever employee. She's been with me for over 2 years now, and she's still crushing it. Our members love her. And it was the scariest thing I've ever had to do. I was oh my God, someone else's living depends on me. I got to pay her so she can pay her bills and eat. It was a very stressful moment. And as we continue to grow, we had one of our members, Nicole, who had lost over 100 pounds. And then I brought her on board as a coach, because she's just an awesome coach, has a heart for helping people, and really knowledgeable also. And so we just continued to expand. And what was it? Maybe in last year when I just moved back from LA to Vancouver. When I was in LA, I had the opportunity to connect with a big vegan fitness YouTuber, Brian, and we just chatted about his coaching business. I was man, I can help you have more impact. Basically, I can help you build this properly so you can help more people. And so we partnered up. We built the whole thing together, and now he's coaching over 60 people, I believe, at this point. And then from that success, you and I had a conversation, and you've always wanted to start a money fitness mastermind program. I was Justin, I love this. We can make this happen together. And so we partnered up to create Fit Rich Vegan. And now what I'm looking at is, there's more people like Brian and like you that potentially want to build a coaching business, who has a passion for helping others and also wants to make a living while doing it. And so right now I'm building a company that will allow me to build more of these companies to help more people have more impact and to make a living out of it. And so right now I'm building the team, the whole infrastructure for that. And so, it also plays into my mission of helping the world get lean, thrive, and disease-proof their bodies. Because some people might connect with me, some might not. Maybe they'll connect with Brian. Maybe they'll connect with you. And so great, if they work with you, I'm still indirectly impacting those lives. And so whichever who we're going to work with in the future, well, we get to build a community of people that is impacting the lives of others on a plant-based way, because I'm only building vegan businesses. And then we're just going to have a major impact together. So I think that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, there's a few things I want to draw out. First, it's so interesting how life in the universe works. So I, became friends with Brian Turner through Instagram, and right around the time that you guys became friends, like you had just went down to San Diego to meet up with him, to just talk about potentially starting something together. And then shortly after that, I was in San Diego on vacation, and I met up with Brian for the first time, to work out and just hang and become bros. And we ended up working out and then getting lunch and then literally walking around a neighborhood for 2 or 3 hours talking. And then a few months later, you guys had successfully launched, your co-owned coaching program. And it wasn't even on my radar for myself of starting a coaching program. I had dreamed for years of doing a fitness and money coaching program, because they're the two areas that I'm so passionate about. And I even back in 2017 tried to start a fitness coaching, an online fitness coaching, and it never got off the ground at all. And then I hired a breakthrough coach in the beginning of this year, and I joined a mastermind this year, paid to join a high level Peter Crone mastermind. And I was working with them mostly to get my podcast launched. And then randomly, during this time, I jump onto one of your Instagram lives because I realized that you're friends with Brian, and I'm I just want to connect with another awesome fit vegan person. And so we we talk on our Instagram live, and then somehow during one of our conversations, I mentioned that I've always wanted to do fitness and money coaching, and you're we should talk. And then literally here we are, 2.5 months into Fit Rich Vegan, being profitable in the very first month. Clients are having massive transformations in only 2.5 months. For some of the members are literally about to become debt free for the first time in their life. Others are breaking that first $100,000 net worth. I just had a client one-on-one, and this client has lost a lot of weight in a single month. I'm hesitant to say because it's almost too fast. Another client has dropped 10 pounds in 2 months, and other ones who are lean bulking are just having all success. And it's just crazy to me because I tried to do this by myself and I totally failed. And then I decided to partner with you. And before that, I showed the universe that I was ready by getting the coach, by joining the mastermind, getting the support. And it has been this definitely it takes work to bring this alive, but it's been so easy, profitable the first month. I mean, I didn't do as good as you, 10K in the first month, but still the fact that we didn't lose money right off the bat, it's just a testament to when you show the universe that you're committed and you're ready, the universe delivers everything that you need. And the other point I want to make is the only way to scale yourself and scale your business is to hire other people. You hired your first coach that worked underneath you in Fit Vegan. You hired a coach to teach you the business of coaching. Then you partnered, you split money with other people to scale yourself and your mission even further with myself and Brian. And now you're going to be doing that even more. And just like you, like for most of my life, I tried to do it myself, all by myself. Like, oh, I can figure this out. I can read the books. I can watch the YouTube videos. Like, how would you coach your younger self to not take so long? You started way earlier than me. You're younger than me. Like, I didn't get my first coach until, outside of like the soccer team coach, like my first like real paid coach until I was like 33-ish. Like, how would you tell a younger version of yourself to like stop trying to do everything on your own and just like make the investment in a coach?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, because I don't think I'll be able to convince necessarily someone to do that. I think there's a certain power to you trying a bunch of shit and it not working, because then eventually it brings you to the place of like, oh, I'm going to ask for help, right? And so, but when you really, like us looking back now with the wisdom and the experience that we have, like if I think about when I was younger and I was reading all the books, watching the YouTube videos, reading the free resources, like those are great pieces of information, but they're not positioned in a step-by-step plan in order for me to do something. You'll read something like that sounds great, but maybe that's like step 15 of the process. How do you know what is step 1, what is step 2? And ultimately you can grab someone to put all this information into a plan, but unless that person has experience, maybe step 1 goes to step 16 and 16 goes to step 2. Like the aspect of having the knowledge and the experience and of having failed multiple times is what's going to make the difference. Like when we talked about doing like ads and stuff like that, I was like, we're not ready for ads now, right? There's different things that we need to do before we get to that point where we can scale and we can maximize the traffic that we have. But like I made all those mistakes. Like I spent 10 grand on ads and got nothing out of it because I've done those mistakes. So you guys are benefiting from that, but having that experience made the world of a difference. So looking back, you'll learn a lot by trying and by reading. But ultimately, because you're young, you think you have all the time in the world. But ultimately, hiring someone that knows and has done it for a very long time will save you like a tenth. You'll do it in a tenth of the time. Like it is so much faster. It's not even about like you doing it on your own and like, being tough and like, I'm going to figure this out. It's like, just don't be stupid. Like it's going to take you 10 years if you do it on your own, and maybe 1 year if you do it with the help of someone that knows how to do it. Right? Yeah. It's so much faster.
Yeah, I mean, I literally, so probably from the age of 13, I was trying to figure out how to get abs and like, finally get that muscular body that I was like stoked to like, be shirtless in. And I basically tried by myself for 20 years. I got a coach and I did it in 6 months. So like, it's insane how much faster you can do it. And I think the craziest part to me is, I've been such a lifelong student in Tony Robbins, and like Tony Robbins, like one of his main teachings is like the fastest way to learn something is to model somebody else. But I somehow missed the fact that like, one of the key steps to like modeling someone else is having someone coach you into that. Right. And I don't know if I was just like blind to it because I was so stubborn and I was like, I'm smart enough to figure this out on my own. But eventually, after 20 years of being frustrated with my body, like similar to you, when you were just like, okay, screw it. Like, I'm going to like pay someone to help me because like I've tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed. Like the same thing happened to me. And then I think once I did it with my fitness, I wasn't as shy about doing it with other areas of my life. Right. So like my wife and I, really great example is like for 2 years or more before we got married, we worked with a relationship coach. Not because we had like massive problems and we're fighting all the time, but because like we wanted to like proactively design the relationship, the intimacy, the respect, the way of like being together in partnership before we got married. And ultimately having that like that coach, we like literally had like a dream wedding, and like, we're only in our first year of marriage, but like the way we like, every healthy relationship, there is some like, arguing, but like the way we argue and like the breakdowns like are so short in our relationship. It's like, there'll be a breakdown and then the breakthrough literally comes like sometimes within minutes versus like some relationships that like, they'll stay mad at each other for days or even weeks. You're right.
Yeah. The breakthrough's a week later.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, and now that I've, done that with my relationship, done that with my finances, and now I'm doing it even more just with all levels of my life, because it's like, why not just see how far I can go, right? If I'm willing to like make the energetic and financial, emotional, and spiritual investment, in, people who can help me get to the next level, like, why not? Like, let's just see how far, like how many boundaries I can break through, right?
Yeah. And, I think as you're sharing that, like, I'm just thinking, like, how would I have received that before all of this? And, my number one excuse was like, well, I don't have the money to invest in this thing, right? I don't have, it doesn't make sense for me to spend money on this because I barely have any money for like clothes or for whatever. But now looking back from where I'm at and where we're at, when I did the initial investment, I had no money for food. I was going to lose my house. I had no money for food. I was eating at the food bank, and I made an investment, but it was the least comfortable, right? Not like, oh, I have money for my bills. If I had to look back and start way younger, and I had to get $1,000 in debt, if I had to get $5,000 in debt to learn how to make 50 and pay off my debt, I would pay $10,000 for that, right?
Yeah.
As long as I'm like almost breaking even, I'd be happy with it. But if I had to pay $5,000 for a mentor to show me how to make $50K a year, how to pay off $50K in debt, or how to like increase my net worth by like 50, $70K, like if you break it down, like that's a pretty good trade-off.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, we feel like we're taking all the risk at first when we're making that investment, and we don't know if we're going to get it back. And that's where confidence in your ability to act comes in. I always knew that when I made an investment, I was going to do the work. And so if it was going to fail, it was not because of me. It was going to be because of the methodology.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the critical piece. Like, even me in my own journey, like, didn't recognize until now, is like when you put your money in it, like, it will work if you do the work. And you'll do the work. Like, most people do the work because their money's on the line, right? Like, where I've seen, so before I had Fit Rich Vegan Coaching, like, I did like fitness and money coaching with people on the side for fun, because I'm just so passionate about the two. But the thing with all those clients is their results were like, okay, but not great. And that's because there's nothing on the line, right? It was like, they're getting this for free. Correct. And so now I've recognized, like, for myself and really for anybody, it's like, if you make the investment, like, provided that the money has some meaning to you, like, you'll make it like pay you back, because you're like, heck, like, I gotta get my money's worth, right? So I think that's a really powerful point. And, I've had another 7-figure coach on the show, Emily Williams, and she literally did the same thing as you. Like, I kind of did it a different way. And, maybe we'll talk about that in another show. But like, she literally had to borrow money from her husband when she was already massively in debt. She actually had to, I believe, put it on his credit card, like, for her first coach. And it was like, I don't know, something like $7,500, or it was a lot of money. I mean, she was already like, $30,000-$40,000 in debt. And so, like, time and time again, and if you actually pay attention to a lot of like the personal development books, there's a similar story with a lot of the like really high level, business coaches and successful people, is they made the investment in their personal development when they literally had nothing. And then now they're all so freaking successful financially and in many other ways. So,
yeah, self-development books are interesting. Like, I'm sure you've read a lot at this point, and I'm sure you've seen there's a recurring theme that they almost all say the same thing, right? Like, after you've read a bunch of them, you're like, oh, okay, great. Like, get out of my own way, take action, learn from the failure, and then improve moving forward, and stop getting in your own way, and then fail and learn and move forward, and just repeat the cycle. And then having a mentor allows you to do that efficiently. Instead of you failing and progressing in the wrong direction, mentor goes like, just smudge over to the left a little bit. And let me fail this way. let me fail and learn this way. And it shortens the process by a lot.
Yeah, and that's the big difference, I think, between like watching a YouTube video or listening to an audiobook or reading like, either digital or paper book is, with coaching or a mastermind, it's experiential, right? It's like there's this experiential interplay between you and the coach and you and the mastermind, or like if you're in a group coaching program, like you're not only getting coached kind of like, by the coaches in the program, but you're also like learning from and inspiring and teaching to the other people in the program. And it's this really like beautiful, like experiential interplay that just like hyper growths people's like transformation. And I didn't really learn that until, because like shortly after I got my first fitness coach, I then like went and did like an experiential transformation workshop. Something called Landmark, the Landmark Forum. And then I did the second. I'm
familiar with Landmark.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did Landmark. And then I was
done
like,
it too.
Yeah. And then I was like, so I do that and I'm like, holy shit, like this is like 100 times more powerful than any book. Because it literally forces you to do the work there like over that weekend. Then I did the second, Landmark Advanced. And then I did like 2 different 10-week courses with them, which was basically I was getting like group coaching like once a week for like 20 weeks total. And so like there's no like my path, like I didn't go the crazy like, okay, I have no money and I'm gonna like, spend my credit to get into it. But I still, it was fundamentally changed the entire trajectory of my life once I started investing in workshops, personal development, and coaching. And it's just like, I think what I want to call out is that experiential transformation that like a workshop or a coach or a mastermind can give you, that a book or a video just will not ever be able to give you. So
yeah, absolutely. There's something, I'll say there's something to that the group setting does for you in terms of accountability and support and feeling like you're in this together with others. Reading books, Landmark, being at those events won't do anything for you unless you implement what's being taught. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times, like, man, you've been to Landmark Forum and I'm sure you've done a lot of the courses. I'm sure you see a lot of people that come back to those things and that have the same freaking issues the whole way through because they never actually take action on the things that they're learning. Yep. Like, it's great to read. It's great to go to events. It's great to be in a program. But until you actually do something with the information, like nothing is never going to change. And so like, that's the power of the experimental, like not experimental, but like the environment of being in a group and the experience is you see someone else taking action right near you. You're like, damn, I'm going to do it too. I don't want to be left behind, not be the only one that's not taking action. So that's 100%. The power of having a community.
Yeah. I mean, literally we're seeing in Fit Rich Vegan, like there's, several people who have like a lot of debt to pay off. And then they hear like, oh, this client literally is like about to be debt free. Holy shit, I can do it too. Like, what are they doing? Oh, they're taking action. Oh my God. Okay. I'll do it too. Right. And because like there's like almost like an emotional bond or connection, like it becomes real in their life, right? Where like when you're in, even if it's virtual, it's so much deeper than like you reading about somebody in a book, right? Because like you're in real time interactions in group coaching sessions with them. So I'm curious though, like, one of the things I always love to share on this show is like all the different resources that have transformed people's lives. So you had your main coach, who helped you get into kind of the world of like fitness coaching online. And you've obviously read, Tony Robbins' books, but like what other kind of like coaches have you worked with, workshops have you done, masterminds have you been a part of, or like transformational podcasts or books that you would, you would share with someone like me who's just like a personal development junkie and nerd and is always looking for the next like book, podcast, coach, mastermind, etc.
Yeah. So Awaken a Giant Within was obviously the big one. In terms of podcasts, I'll be honest, I don't really listen to podcasts. I just like recording them. And I know like people don't know that I don't really listen to podcasts. I just like record. I like talking. I'm not a great listener. Something I'm working on, but I'm great at talking.
At least you're honest.
So yeah, I know myself, which I think plays to, that's the reason why I'm moving so fast, is because I know what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. So yeah, podcasts, I don't really have any recommendations in that realm. All leadership books from John C. Maxwell, those have been like a game changer for me. What's the book? 7 Habits of Highly Disciplined People.
Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey.
Yeah, so that's another great book. What's the other one I have? I have so many in my library. Actually, they're all in this closet right there. But any massive one that marked me, honestly, Awaken the Giant Within.
Yeah, it's still good.
Yeah, it's still like the foundation of everything. And ultimately, when I read a whole book, I just want one thing out of it that's going to change my life. And like, that's all I read books for. I don't read books for the whole thing to change my life. I just need one piece of information out of this whole thing that I can implement that's going to be a game changer. And it's been a game changer to approach every book I read in that way. Because there's a lot of information in there. And it's like, what's the most impactful thing I can implement today? And you mind if I share an example of that?
Absolutely. Please.
There's a book, and I think it's called The Culture Code, right? How to build culture in companies, which, I think I've done a great job at building amongst every company. Like, we have an amazing team and everyone loves working together. I was reading the whole book and I was like, man, this sucks. I got nothing out of it. And in the last page, there's something that like I read. So I can't remember what it was, but I read it and I was like, I'm implementing this. 30K extra the next month. I was like, out of that one thing, I was like, that's all I need. One piece of information per book. It was a $20 book. Right. Yeah. And that's why like people's like, I don't have money to buy books. I'm like, $20. You never know what can happen with it. Yeah. So yeah, man, besides Awaken the Giant Within, like that's been the game changer. And honestly, I used to love watching YouTube videos like Eric Thomas. I don't know if you the hip hop preacher. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Oh yeah.
When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful.
Yep.
Les Brown. Like I used to listen to a lot of those guys. Les Brown is great. To like get me in the mood, get me in the mindset, until eventually I realized that like this is great, but I can't rely on this. It needs to be like an internal shift versus an external need that needs to take place. Instead of depending on it, I just fundamentally need to make an internal shift of being committed versus being motivated. Because every time I was unmotivated to go to the gym or to do work, I just go on YouTube and watch a video. I was like, "Why this sucks? Like, it's basically like cigarettes or alcohol. Like, why do I need this thing to be able to do work?" And so I really focused in on like what needs to happen inside for me to just be locked in of like, I say I'm going to do something and I'm going to do it. And you know this about me. Like, I don't need accountability. If it's on my GSD list, my get shit done list on my iPad, it's game over. I'm getting it done. Right? Like I don't need accountability. If something's on my list, I do it. That's it. The switch is on and it's freaking broken. And I still have coaches because I want the information to go to the next level. I don't need them to hold me accountable. They get like good money out of me because I pay them. I just want the information. I don't need them to check in on me. I'm like, I don't need that. I'm going to do the work. I just need you to tell me if I'm somewhere and I'm stuck. I need you to tell me why am I stuck? What do I need to do? And then you tell me and I go to the next level and I just do it. And I think that's why I've been able to progress so fast.
Hey there, just a few words about the incredible show sponsors for today's episode, and then we'll dig right back in. This show is brought to you by Feel Free from Botanic Tonics. This product is unlike anything I've ever had before. No joke. It's made with kava root and other ancient plants, and just half a shot gives me this incredible sense of focused flow and productivity. And I love to take just half a shot right before I work out. I take it with my pre-workout and it takes my workouts to the next level. It is seriously unlike anything I've ever had. It's also an incredible productivity tool for any big work projects that you have or long periods of time where you just need to be super focused in flow state and get a lot of shit done. So if you want to give this a shot, you can go to botanictonics.com and use code DRAGON at checkout to get 40% off your first order. No joke. 40% off with code DRAGON. That's feel free from botanictonics.com, code DRAGON. Feel free, feel good. Yeah, it's so interesting. I want to contrast with myself. So when I have my coaches, like almost all of them will basically, they'll ask me like, well, what do you want to have done before you meet with me again, like next week? And like, I'll basically, assign myself some like homework, so to speak. And then they'll like, okay, how about also maybe adding in this, and this? Ultimately, they know I have to choose, yes, I want to do that homework. But then there's something in me when I make a commitment to other people that like, I'm going to like do this in order to get to the next level of myself. It's like, I will do it. Like, you know what I mean? And it's weird. I'm one of the most disciplined people I know, but there's a next level of like transformation or growth that happens with me when I work with coaches. And I know that like I said, I would do XYZ. You know what I mean? Like that's your GSD, like list or get shit done list. Like when I write down like my coaching homework from my coaches that like I helped, I pretty much program my own coaching like homework. But like once I do that, I'm committed and like I'll get it done. And it's interesting because I know for some people accountability is absolutely critical. Like
for sure.
Yeah. And know, actually I know how to frame it. So Gretchen Rubin has this book called The Four Tendencies. And there's 4 different tendencies. There's the one that I am is the rebel. So basically, I resist external and internal expectations. So if I feel like someone's expecting something from me, like I'll not want to do it just because I feel their expectation and like I want to rebel against that. But the way for me through that is if whatever it is related to how I want to be seen in this world, like the vision of myself that I have for myself, then I will do it. Like, for example, if I want to be like known as like a businessman who always like crushes it, like no matter what, like I'm going to crush it. Like COVID happens, doesn't matter. I'm going to crush it. Like I'm going to thrive in any and all environments, doesn't matter. So for the audience, that book, The Four Tendencies, and actually you and I need to talk about that offline just in our own business partnership, because I need to understand what you are and you need to understand what I am so we can be even more empowering business partners together. Are you familiar with that book?
No, I'm familiar with the author. I'm not familiar with the book.
Yeah, she also did the Happiness Project, but definitely highly recommend The Four Tendencies if you want to understand how you respond to expectations, both internal and external. So, sorry, I just went off a random.
I'll add it to the list.
Yeah. No, it's just
that's all right. Yeah, the accountability part is important. Like, I think that. Put it this way, not everyone will operate the same way I will operate. Not everyone will operate the same way you will operate. Mm-hmm. But in a general sense, most people love accountability. And I think that's why our members are so successful with Fit Rich Vegan, with Buff Vegan, with Fit Vegan Coaching, is because at that high level of accountability, right? With the weekly check-ins, the group calls, the one-on-ones, most people thrive in that. Right. I have different motivators, but everyone has their own, and accountability is huge for like 99% of people.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also a lot to be said about being in, something like a mastermind or a group coaching setting, because like when you see other people like there along with you, like it's just so much more fun, like so much faster, and you go so much further when you're like doing the work together versus like just sitting there trying to do it on your own. Like even you and I, like I'll make you do working sessions with me because like it's so much more fun for me to do the work with you than to like go do it by myself. Like, and you're laughing right now.
I'm new to that. Because I'm new to that. Me, like if you see when I wake up at like 5:30 in the morning, whatever, the lights are turned off in my office. I'm in blue light blocking glasses, on my noise canceling headphones, and I'm just alone in the dark working. Like I love that. I just fall into flow. Next thing you know, it's like 5 hours later. I'm like, oh shit, we just built the whole system.
Yeah.
Like that's how I work. I just like am such a I call it my cave. I just go in the cave basically to work. And then I come out. I'm like, it's time to go to the gym right now.
Yeah. And I'm a bit of a hybrid. So I always put in like 60 to 120 minutes in the morning on solo work. But then like in the other part later in the day, I like to do work with other people. Like I find I'm like more successful when I like am like doing working sessions with people. And this is something I'm learning to myself, like learning for myself even now as I'm getting older. I'm just like, I'm really self-motivated for like, say the first half of the day up until like, I don't know, 12 or 1. And then I do a lot better after 1 o'clock, like working with other people. And I don't know, there's something about like either the way my, creativity works or just like my energetic circadian rhythm or something. And I'm just like, I'm getting more and more tuned with like my different working rhythms and energies and like how to best amplify those. Because like the last thing I want to do is talk to somebody in the morning. Because in the morning, like I'm hyper focused, very creative. And I just love to do stuff alone for the first like 2 to 3 hours of the day. And then I go to the gym. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
I appreciate you doing the working sessions with me because then you make building this business so much fun for me.
Good.
Awesome. So what about some of the other coaches? Because you mentioned your coach that got you started. Then you also mentioned that you're getting coaching with some like Tony Robbins, like certified coaches. Like what other kind of like coaches and like masterminds like have you utilized?
So within the first mastermind I've been in, there's several mentors I have within it. There's obviously the owner, but he has one of his I would say one of his members, not really a member, is more of like a coach, Frank, who is generating like I don't want to say maybe like a few 7 figures per month of sales in the fitness space.
That's crazy.
And this guy is a machine when it comes to systems. And as you know, I'm a geek when it comes to building systems and optimizing things. So I love to chat with him. Like him and I'm like, dude, how do you do this? He's like, well, if you put these things together. And I was like, oh, this is great. So I love having conversation with him because we just geek out on like building companies and structures and systems. And so those are pretty much the two from there. And then I obviously have my fitness coach and my nutrition coach also who takes care of my training nutrition. I don't want to have to think about my training nutrition. I want to outsource it to someone. Here's the data. Tell me what I got to do. I'm going to do it. Done. And then he just adjusts based on what the goal is. And then my Tony Robbins coach is something I recently added maybe 2-3 months ago, potentially. My fiance called me out on some shit. And I was like, it hurts to hear it, but I'm going to work on it.
Yeah.
That's one thing about me is people will give me feedback. I'm not always the most receptive. Initially, when the feedback comes, I might grin. I might be like, oh, fuck this. But ultimately, I'm always going to work on it.
Yeah.
Right? Because what is there than to better yourself all the time? So she gave me some feedback I needed to work on. And so that's why I hired the Tony Robbins team to help me with that.
And how
it's
about
not
therapy?
Even business related. It's more like personal life.
Yeah. How about like therapy?
I've done it in the past. I've done it in the past when my ex was going through her cancer, just to help with that. But I haven't retouched it since she passed. I just more focus more on like the Tony Robbins and like business stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you and I have started, this endeavor called Fit Rich Vegan. So I'm just curious, like what your Fit Rich Vegan life looks like. Like how would you explain like what your version of a Fit Rich Vegan life would look like?
It's pretty much the life I'm living now. Like, to be honest with you, I just doing what I love every day. As much as it's demanding and it's tiring and it's stressful at times, like I don't see myself really doing anything else than impacting the lives of people. And at first I thought I could only do it in a one-on-one type of way. And then I realized that like, hey, I'm pretty, decent at building businesses and being able to coach multiple people through the systems and the companies I've built. And so just continuing to pursue that internal desire that is inside of me to impact the lives of people. And I genuinely don't want anyone to have to go through cancer or through a stroke or through any chronic disease that can easily be prevented through nutrition, a healthy lifestyle, fitness, and, balance and meditation. Like there's no need for people to suffer through this stuff if we can do something about it. And so that's ultimately what drives me to do what I want to do every day. And so my Fit Rich Vegan life is continuing to pursue that, and then continuing to be active, spend quality time with my fiance, and just do what I love every day, which is ultimately what I'm doing right now. And then from the balance standpoint, just from the finance standpoint, like really stoked with where I'm at. I told you this last week, finally became debt free.
Hey there, just a few words about the incredible show sponsors for today's episode, and then we'll dig right back in. Today's show is brought to you by Fit Rich Vegan. If you're ready to get in the best shape of your life, double your income, and 10x your savings and investments, then this is the coaching program for you. But wait a minute, Dragon. Isn't this your coaching program? Heck yeah, it is. I spent the last 8 years mastering my fitness and my finances, and I've built an incredible coaching program with an incredible team to help you get the body of your dreams and finally achieve that level of financial success that you've been seeking. So if you want to find out if you're a good fit for the program, go to fitrichvegan.com and book your free consultation today. Or you can just DM me on Instagram with the words Fit Rich Vegan, and we can chat about if it's going to be a good fit for you. I'm committed to empowering people to actually achieve their fitness and financial goals. I spent the last 20 years trying to figure this out on my own. And what I realized is the key to doing it is not doing it alone. You have to have coaches, you have to have mentors, and you have to be a part of masterminds. And that's exactly what Fit Rich Vegan has. It has coaches, mentors, and it is a mastermind. So again, if you're ready to book your free consultation today, go to fitrichvegan.com or drop me a DM on Instagram. You know, as we start to land this plane, you know, you've put over... Actually, one quick thing I just want to say, because you mentioned it. So I just have to say that it's such a pleasure to work with you, because you're such a master, you know, I think of you as kind of like CEO and like co-CEO with me of Fit Rich Vegan, and like chief operating officer. Like, you are so good at operations and like building the systems and doing all the stuff. And like the fact that you like love it is like, I think why I love working with you so much, because like this, you love doing all the stuff that I have zero interest in doing. Right. And I just want to say thank you. And that you have like massive amount of skill in operations. Like you're built for it, and it shows. And I just want to say thank you for being such a great operator. Thank you for being such a great business partner. And yeah, it's a pleasure to work with you, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
You've put over 500 people through your program, and now even more with Brian and myself. And you've also done, you know, well over 100, and I think you said 140 podcasts. I'm just curious, are there any like top like 3 or 5 like lessons that you would share, you know, with the audience around, you know, just kind of all things like fitness, personal development, business building, etc.?
Yeah, for sure. So there's 3 things, and I think they would apply to all the areas that you just named. One of them is, I tell this to my members all the time, consistency compounds, right? Ultimately, you're not going to want to show up every day. Don't just show up when you feel like you're going to be able to show up 100%. If you feel 30%, give 100% at 30%. If you feel 10%, give 100 at 10%, right? It's kind of like money. You can't compound $0, but you can compound $10. You can compound $100. So consistency compounds. The second one is taking perfect action. So often we wait for the perfect time, for the environment, the situation, your life to be perfectly aligned before we actually start doing something. And ultimately, that is the number one thing that is preventing you from going where you want to. So take imperfect action. Who cares if it's not perfect? Do it, fail, tweak, adjust, pivot, and then just move forward and keep doing the same thing. That's how I got to where I got to. And the third one is speed of implementation, right? We talked about people that read a lot of books. They look at a lot of YouTube videos. They read a lot of blogs. They talk to a lot of people. But ultimately, until you take action, nothing is going to change. So when you learn something, implement it fast. Your life won't change until you take action. So you learn something, implement it. by taking imperfect action and then tweak from there, right? Ultimately, you won't, if you're not going to die out of a decision, you're pretty safe, right? And so if the decision is for you to start a business and you do something and it doesn't make money, pivot, try something else. You're still alive, you're still blessed, you can still keep going. So that's how I see it. Consistency compounds, take imperfect action, and speed of implementation are the three things that ultimately change my life and is the only approach that I've been using moving forward.
Profound. Absolutely love those. I'm going to steal them and use them in my own philosophy that I've continued to build out for myself. That's really powerful, dude. Okay. You're obviously living your fit, rich, vegan life. How do you proactively design and live that best life? How do you, what are the things that you kind of make sure that you're doing every day or every week that really empower you to live at the level that you're living, where you feel like you're making a massive positive impact and you're doing work that you love? What are the kind of, habits or routines or rituals daily or weekly that you make sure that you're doing?
Yeah, I make sure I do all my workouts for the week. Right now I'm training 6 times a week. So 5 strength training, 1 cardio, because that's the plan that we're on. So I make sure that fitness is always a part of my life. I always make sure that I stop working after around 5:30 p.m. because it's time with me and my fiance and our dog. It's not work time, it's quality partner time. We make sure that we have a date night every single week. And then in the morning, I share this with you on our last group call for the Fit Rich Vegan Mastermind. I have this kind of little exercise that I do, kind of like a ritual for mantras. And one of them is that I don't have to carry the weight of the world on my shoulder because I want to impact the world so bad that sometimes it feels really heavy on me and very stressful. And so just reminding myself I don't have to carry the weight of the world. Second is that I'm in control of how I respond to whatever is in my life, whatever is coming in my life. And then the third one is that life is perfect. Everything that is there, everything that comes into my life, good or bad, right? Because who defines what good and bad is perfect, is there to teach me something, is there to bring me forward, is there for a specific reason, and therefore life is perfect. So I don't have to worry about why is this happening to me? It's happening to me because I need to get tougher, right? Why is this happening to me? Because I deserve it. Something cool happened, right? And so I do that every single morning. And the rest of the time, I work an amount of hours per day that allows me to have the impact that I want to have. And then when I start getting tired and I know myself pretty well at this point, then I just stop. I know that if I work from 6 a.m. to 12 of just deep work, a few calls, I feel good. From 12 to 2, I go on and work out, I eat food, I walk the dog, spend time with my fiance. From 2 to 5, 2 to 5:30, I'll go back and do some work, some calls, some podcasts. And after that, I'm done. I'm done for the day. I have nothing left. I just spend quality time with my partner. Yeah, so I just structured it in a way that allows me to optimize my energy and how much attention span I have for different things.
Yeah, I think that's really critical. Is you're really effective with your energy, focus, and your time, versus a lot of people they try to do they work in a job for 8 or more hours a day, but the truth is they're only really doing 2 or 3 hours of actual work. The rest of the time, they're just distracted and, not really getting much done. And you and I are the same way. I work in blocks. And, when I'm working, I'm hyper focused and I get a lot done. But I also have a lot of space and free time in my life and in every single day, because it's you can't go hard, hard as a motherfucker 24/7. You have to have that kind of balance of effort and recovery, and effort and recovery. Just you can't bang out 10 sets of your 80% max back to back to back to back to back to back with no rest in between the sets. You have to take rest in between the sets of every exercise. That's how I like to think about work too, is you do sets of work where you're hyper focused for that particular set, and maybe that set's an hour, 2 hours, maybe even a little bit longer. I found for me, I'm kind of 60 to 120 minutes is every for me, my sets of work. And then in between there, I'm doing other things. So it sounds like you're structuring kind of a balance of both output and recovery.
Yeah, of course. Like I've like, I don't say burnt out, but like I know my brain gets tired. I know when I start working on something and the task drags on for so long, I'm like, I need a break. Like this is not me being like, what is it worth for me to like get up for 30 minutes and get the task done in 30 minutes versus drag it out for an hour? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. What are you most excited about? Like upcoming projects or new endeavors?
Yeah. So I would say building this fourth company to be able to help more people have a greater impact through fitness and plant-based nutrition. And so having that ready for 2023, I'm very excited about that because ultimately, I think that's the next level of me having more impact. There's some people that are going to want to have a woman as a trainer, for example. There's some people that are going to want someone with a different energy than me and you or Brian or any other person we're going to work with. And so just going a step further with the impact that we can have beyond just like me having to do it one-on-one.
Yeah. Love to hear that. Best place to find you online?
Multiple places. So you go to fitvegancoaching.com, the podcast, the Facebook group, all that fun stuff is linked on there. My Instagram's on there also, but mainly I'm on Instagram, Maxime S_official. I should be able to find everything there.
Great. Last words of wisdom or anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
Yes. One thing that I end all my calls with my members is everything that Justin and I just shared today is absolutely worthless unless you do something with it. And so what I invite you to do is just grab one thing that you connected with today and take action on that. Whether that is to go buy one of the books that Justin recommended, whether that is to go on link to work with us for Fit Rich Vegan, whether that is to follow Justin on Instagram to get more details, whether that is to go get a workout plan, whatever it may be. This whole podcast episode was worthless unless you actually do something with it. And the whole purpose of impact is to change people's life. We can't do that if you don't take action on the information. And I don't want you to stay in the same place. I don't want you to be miserable. I don't want you to be chunky like I was before. I don't want you to be broke like I was before, like Justin was before, right? So grab one thing, implement it, speed of implementation, take action, and then consistently follow through because I promise you that's going to compound.
Beautiful, my brother. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll definitely do another show in the future. You've definitely given me a ton to think about. You're very wise and you get a lot of shit done. And like I said, it's such a pleasure to be working with you. So thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure working with you too. I'm super excited for the impact that we get to have on people. Again, when we tried to figure out who we were trying to help, like we're helping the equivalent of you at my age, me at my age, like a few years ago. And so very excited for the impact that we get to have together. And thank you for having me on the show.
Boom. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, literally everything can be used as an opportunity to learn, to heal, to grow, and to transform. So whatever is going on in your life, choose to consciously and proactively harness that energy and use it to alchemize your life to the next level. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend or on your favorite social media and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. As always, you can find me at Justin David Carl on Instagram and all the socials, as well as at alchemizelife.com on the web. Until the next time, sending you lots of energy and plenty of dragon magic.